What's up, y'all? Big Red here, coming out to another Fallout 76 video on the channel. I know it's been a minute, I've been out of pocket, but I'm back. So was the Autoax, new and improved, now that we can add melee speed correctly to especially auto-mele weapons. And I hope all my fellow those out there at the Robbing and Surviving in the Wasteland. It's going to be infested, no bullets, Autoax build for Ghoul to get that 150%. We'll come back and do a human, but this will be Ghoul to maximize our damage. And we are going to test some different variants of the Autoax. We're going to see just how much weapon speed is actually needed. Is electrified better? Is cryo better? A lot's changed as I've been back for several updates, but I think I got the gist of it. But just be kind and nice in the comments. If I leave anything out, I would add to it. You know, this is out of community testing things, trying to get to the bottom, what's the best, how we can overcome Bethesda's stupidity and all the nerfs that they give us, and to make the best build, to be the most efficient, to be OG killers in the wasteland. You know what I mean? That's why we play this game. No, it's for fun. So we're going, like I said, we're going to test, use the Guardian as a good test dummy. We'll test out the different variants, and I got several different options for you, not just one build, but it depends on you picking your flavor, what you want, because there's no really wrong way in the wasteland to play. It's just the fact that you play. And with all that being said, we're going to get right into it. You can see we had no problem taking down the boss. Infestations is not that hard. With the right build, you can get past it, solo it, but what's the point of that? You want to be a good team player, the Autoax is definitely the weapon for that. Let's get right into the testing. But real quick, people ask, is Infestations worth it? Now, granted, they could up the ante on some of the pool, but look, I learned several different mods over the weekend, Polish being one of them, so I do still think it's worth it, and this build will help you do it without spending ammo. Welcome to Big Red's lab, where we use the Guardian as a test dummy because he can just stand there and take it like a champ. He's stationary, he doesn't move, so we can get good damage numbers and get consistent comparisons. Versus, trying to find the same infestation boss. They got different resistances. They're always moving if you don't lock them down. There's a lot of different variables. So this would be a good test dummy that we can really find which Autoax is the best. As we're going over this, I'm gonna go over the power armor. What I recommend, as you can see in the background, another run. You can see how much damage you're taking. If you try to do it on solo, you know how much damage you take. So I do recommend going with the full set of reflective on every piece. To when those things are stabbing you in the back, you can at least be giving some damage back to them and kill some of them and tank it a little bit better. And this is the idea of this build, is to be a tank and be able to tank the blunt of the blow of the boss to help your other teammates to be able to use their ranged weapons, and just while you're also doing serious DPS, which I also recommends because you're going to be a Ghoul going with mutants, very universal effect. You get extra, we're getting 4.9% damage reduction per piece, so that's like 24 point something all together. And then you add it on too, we got 4 pieces with Sentinel, which gives us another 20, so it's like 44% damage reduction. Once we get the boss locked down, we're going to be sitting there tanking most of this stuff. Now, you're not invincible, you can die. You got Cavaliers for 1 piece on there, so that way when you run into the boss, you get a little 10% damage reduction. We got +2 strength on 2 pieces to give us a little extra damage. And you can get higher damage numbers going with all +2 strength, but the one boss that's infested drains your AP, and that action point region, the power it on there does help out with company tea and maybe a coffee to help get it started. You'll be okay. You'll be able to handle your Autoax in your power armor. We do have coverage shocks for carry weight. The optimized razors, another reason why you want to use your Autoax and power armor for the tankiness, and because it'll cut down your action point costs with your optimized razors. We do got motion assisted on the chest piece to give us another 2 to our strength to help out. And I do recommend the Hellcat. Look, you can see how many bullets. Not everything is ballistic damage, but there's a lot of ballistic damage, and when it does hit, it hits hard. There'll be some runs with Strangleheart will show that you can use, and I love Strangleheart for my melee builds, but going for these infestations, I think Hellcat gives you more benefit because you're going to get 2% per piece, so that's 10% altogether, extra damage reduction on with ballistic. You can see we don't got no serums, cancel negative effects as we do these tests. We're doing it with Class Freak, even though I like taking serums, but everybody has that. So I will have several different builds in here, and I will be utilizing that to show you what kind of damage you can be expecting. We'll be utilizing our quad crippling Tesla rifle with Enforcer, gun tricks, and Wild West hands to help cripple the shield. Those are the major important things. We don't have no take on one for the team going, so that way we get a good comparison on our test. This is my test rifle. I'm not going to show you me taking the shield down because it takes a minute and you don't want to see all that, but that's what we'll be utilizing. And we have several different variants that we're going to get into. All right, let's see which Autoax is the best for infestations and in the current state of the game. Take a shot of that. Get a little bit of a take more 13, 1478, 68, 1474. I fell off, so we're getting 1044. This is with Furious Pounders, double speed, 3 strength, turbo mod. 1049 without. Take one for the team. I probably will go take one for the team while so we it's consistent numbers when we're really comparing them back. Yeah, so we're just coming. Alright, we got it done before the timer ran out, even though we still died, but we still got the point done. Still able to do it without any food buffs. No Deathclaw Wellington, no tasty meat dish, just tasty squirrel for the XP. No serums, cancel negative effects, just Class Freak. So it'll give you an idea of what kind of damage you'll be getting. You can do without it if you don't get those buffs. That is the Furious weapon speed, 3 strength with the pounders and the turbo mod. Let's come back with the mutants and cryo damage and see what it does. No buffs. Alright, we almost got the shield down. Now the shield is down. They got 1293 using 1320. You can take one for the teams. Now we're down to 924. This is with the mutants, with weapon speed, with the cryo damage, 3 strength, with the turbo mod. So 924, it's about 100 difference. Then the pounders. And it's going to be really close, but we're going to get there. Right, 32.34 seconds. And about 3 seconds behind with no tasty dish. That tasty dish makes a huge difference. We ain't talking about on the team, it's like 210%. My solo is like 170, 180, somewhere in there. But yeah, it makes a huge difference. No Deathclaw Wellington, no serums, using Class Freak. As mutants with the cryo, with weapon speed, with the turbo mod. Okay, now we're going to come back and take a tasty dish of Deathclaw Wellington and show you just how powerful those buffs really are. Alright, here we go. We'll have the weapon speed with the pounders, Furious, turbo, 3 strength. All we did was take a tasty meat dish and Deathclaw Wellington. It's really going to be more than tasty meat dish. That 213% makes such a huge difference. I mean, it's so easy to farm. I'm going to show you a little bit of farming I did. Look at that difference. 1339 with the tasty, 1049 no tasty, 290 difference. Look at that. That's like a 4-second difference. 25.47 versus the 29.21. That is 4 seconds. And on the Guardian, that can make or break you. And for the timer running off, and that adds up when you're going against the infestation boss or something even with more health. And so that tasty dish is so easy to get. I do encourage you. I'm going to show you, like I said, several farms I did and how much I stocked up on, how easy it is to get. Even if you don't have Yasmin and Grandma, you have the White Springs Refuge, and it's public access to everyone, and you can easily server hop and stock up, especially if you're going to run this build. You're going to be dedicated to this melee build. You might as well go all in and get the right buffs to help make your build more efficient and to be able to be more powerful and save time down. You get the enemy down quicker and get your loot. You can see we didn't take any serums. We had a tasty dish going, and we still didn't have no taking one for the team going. All right, let's see what the mutants with the cryo damage will do. There you go. shit them down, switch over. So with it all the time. So mutants, weapon speed, cryo damage, turbo. 1187. 1200s. 1207s. 1242. 1244. Pretty topped out number. All right, so we got about 27.47 for the time versus 33.34. It's about the same difference, about 4-second difference. And on the damage is about a 300 difference, 12.44 versus 9.24. So there was consistent. Again, it just makes you to encourage you to farm these tasty dishes to run their Autoax with your Ghoul build to bring it over the top to get max damage. Very easy. Let me show you. You see there's the weapon, the mutant with the weapon speed, with the cryo, with the turbo, and we won't run any other, can cancel any turns. We did have the tasty dish going, and we had a Deathclaw Wellington going, and we had class freak. We didn't have any take one for the team. All right, let me show you real quick a couple of farms, and then we'll get into some further testing. You experienced players, bear with me. This is for the newer players. Look at that, 2 Deathclaw Wellington there. Kind of going through the camp, showing you the different buffs for carnivore, your Murloc steamer, your critter cooker, your Deathclaw slow roaster. Look at that, 3 Yahweh dishes, and that's from the White Springs Refuge, where it says waiter. That's where I got it from. Your peppermint collector gives you for your endurance. Look at my cryo freeze. Look at all the cranberry meatball grinders, the Deathclaw Wellingtons, sweet butterfruit teas, and the tasty dishes. They're easy to farm. That's not counting what I have on me. So yeah, I just want to give you a little sample size, and in case you're newer and you don't know where the White Springs Refuge cafeteria is, I'm showing you how to get there. Go into the White Springs, go to the refuge, and just, you know, my character, you'll see me going. The ones, like I said, the ones that say waiter, you can, even if you don't have Yasmin or Grandma, if you just have the White Springs Refuge, you can stock up on these very easily by server hopping. Come down and sit down in a chair, and a waiter will come up and take your order, and then you'll get to see what he has. I mean, look how many I have on me. Deathclaw Wellingtons, 19. And you'll see I have like 8 tasty dishes on me. My character, 6 criminal meatball grinders. Anyway, these buffs are easy to get, and I would encourage you to use them to maximize your build. An extra 200% damage. All the tests from here on out will have these buffs included, and I would encourage you to get them to get a free 200% extra damage to your character. All right, here we go. We're gonna have the Furious, weapon speed, pounders, 3 strength, but we're going to be using the electrified mod. You can see we are getting quite a significant amount more damage. I think it winds up being like an extra 205 damage. It winds up being 1544 versus our 1339 on the turbo mod version of this weapon. Time-wise, it winds up being very close. It seems like the electrified actually outperformed the turbo. I know some people say the turbo outperforms the electrified, but I've run this test several different times. But it's so close, it's almost too hard to call. The make up for the damage versus the extra weapon speed, they kind of balance out. So it depends on how you want to vest your loadout into perk points. Do you want to invest into the science? Do you want to invest into make more makeshift warrior, because your turbo will make your weapon break a little bit quicker, but I got a way to get around that. You can see we don't have no serms, cancel any negative effects. We got class freak. We don't got no take one for the team going to make sure the test is valid. All right, let's come back and let's do a mutants, and let's see what it does with electrified. All right, here we go. Mutants, weapon speed, cryo with electric. Dual solar is going to give us a little extra with the crippling, and with him with the cryo damage. Very interesting results. It does perform quite well, I will say. We're going to top out about 1469. We had 1244 with just a turbo. You know, that's a 225 difference there between turbo and electrified. You can see the electrified outperformed it, you know, not by a full second, but, you know, by 0.8 seconds. Yeah, it seems like electrified is better than the turbo. You can see with the pounders versus the cryo, though, the pounders is outperforming it, whether it's the the turbo or whether it's electrified, the Pounder is outperforming the cryo. Let's compare them side by side. But before we do that, power attack damage used to be the top boss killer, you know, because everything with your auto melee is a power attack, and it used to be multiplicative. But this, I believe, has changed, and let's show you how it performs versus the other ones. Then we'll compare those, and then we'll come back. I think we'll do an anti-armor with the cryo damage to see if it outperforms the mutant. I'm just showing you. I like to show you all. Look how much we're getting on the science. We're getting 74% extra damage, 37 on the cryo, 37 on the science. So the mutants had that going for it, but it still couldn't outperform the Pounder. So that Pounder's effect that is met with those stacks with the Furious outperforms the cryo, even with that extra 75% damage. Here we go. What used to be the best option on your Autoax or your chainsaw, power attack damage, because it was multiplicative, and it just because the weapon speed didn't apply. It didn't matter if you put martial artist or weapon speed; it had the same speed. But now that all that's changed, how will power attack damage fare? I don't think it's still multiplicative. Let's see. The damage that we're going to get is only going to be like 20 more. 1355 versus 1339. It's not even 20 more. And look at the difference. A 7-second difference. Power attack damage is trash now on your Autoax or your chainsaw, any auto melee weapon, and it's not multiplicative. And the weapon speed totally outperformed it. So we won't even compare it with any of more of our comparisons and waste our time with it. Yeah, let's compare the. Let's do one more comparison. Let's do anti-armor, and the best out of mutants are anti-armor, and we'll compare that against the Pounders side by side. All right, here we go. We got the anti-armor with the with weapon speed, with the electric, with the cryo damage. And it's not doing too terrible. It's actually going to get at the end, you know, a little bit more damage. But I think the mutant cryo hit its peak and kept those numbers longer because it actually got more on the damage, 1486 versus 1469. The time was so close, and mutants barely outperformed it. I think it reached its peak quicker. It's one of those things that's so close, almost too close to call. Let's do another one with weapon speed instead of the electric damage with the turbo, with anti-armor, and see how it performs. Also to give more consistent test between electric and turbo, which one is actually better. As you can see, you know, there's the weapon that we use. I like to show all this to make sure you know that I've not pulled a fast one. Look how much we're getting from our cryo and our science, 75% extra damage on those. Tasty Death, Death Claw Wellington, and we didn't have any take one for the team going. No SERMs. Okay, let's do weapon speed, turbo. Here are weapon speed, anti-armor, cryo, turbo. I mean, because the anti-armor, we're getting so close to the cap, adding it in with Incisor, we're getting so much already. With the mutants at 50%, they balance out. You can go with either one. The results are very similar. Actually, their times tied. I've ran this test several different times. Mutants actually had 2 points higher on the damage numbers, but... So anyway, yeah, I would definitely say you could go with either one of them. It definitely does show the electric did outperform on every different variant, the turbo mod. The only difference would be that you had to invest the extra points in the science versus the turbo mod you don't. And we're talking about less than a second, 0.5 seconds difference in time with the electric versus, you know, not having versus the turbo. So slightly outperformed by the electric, but more investment with the electric. You can see we were fully maxed out, 37% on our cryo damage. Tasty Death, Death Claw Wellington. Didn't have no SERMs, cancel negative effects, running it with Class Freak. But still couldn't outperform the Pounders. Definitely. Let's go show it side by side with the Pounders and the electric versus the mutants and with the electric. Alright, so we're going to have Furious Pounder Electric, Pure Powder Turbo. Mutant cryo turbo. Yeah, if you watch it, as it goes across the number, the Enoch 6, you can see the electric is ahead as it crosses the E. The Furious Powder Turbo is second, and you see the cryo following behind it. It's very hard. They're all very, very close, but you can definitely see the electric outperforms it, and the powders outperforms the cryo. All right. That's a good testing. Now, let me show you the difference between bruisers and not bruisers. The reason I'm showing you this is because I want to show you why I'm choosing reflective and why I recommend reflective, especially on a melee build, because you want to be a tank, you want to be able to take in most of the damage and be able to do serious DPS. Reflective is going to help you do that, help you thrive and survive. You can see we're getting 1430 with a full set of bruisers. We do get a really good time. We got our Strangleheart 2361. That's because we have +2 strength on every piece. We don't have no regen on this Strangleheart because it's strictly for my melee build with bruisers on there. I'll show you the power warmer. Full set of Strangleheart with reflective, with bruisers with +2 strength, with Sentinel mutants with motion assisted on the chest piece. And we, like I said, we got all our tasty dish going, Death Claw Wellington going. We are fully buffed up. We actually have serums, cancel negative effects on this one. Testing this. Tasty dish, Death Claw Wellington. But we don't have any take one for the team to make it consistent. All right, let's come back with reflective. I got the same power, Strangleheart armor. All right, here we go. We're gonna have Strangleheart, but it's gonna have reflective in every piece. This is to show you, like I said, both of them are using the Furious Weapon Speed Turbo, 3 strength, Autoax with pounders on it. I wind up getting 1422. That's only 8 off from the bruisers. And it's not much of a difference, like 25%. And time-wise, bruisers beat it by 0.2 seconds. So in my opinion, it ain't worth investing into bruisers for that extra additive damage. But reflective is going to make you tanky and deal damage back to those pesky things that are going to be stabbing you in the back as you lock that boss down. All right, let's do one more thing. I'll show you with weapon break slower instead of 3 strength, just how effective that can be. All right, in case you're struggling with points in your loadout, this will help you. This is Furious with weapon break slower, weapon speed with the pounders, with the turbo on there. Getting very similar numbers. Like I say, it's about, without that 3 strength, it's about 30 points off on your damage on the weapon card. And practicality winds up being, and it's all, these numbers always change, but it's about 44 on the testing, but only time-wise, it was like 0.7 of a second, so it really was effective. Wasn't that far behind, and everyday player, you wouldn't even notice that little bit of a difference. If you need to free up a couple points in your loadout and do weapon break slower, you'll be a-okay. I'm trying to give you many options here as we go over several different variants of in the build. We're not going to test any poison weapons because they won't work against the Assaultron, so I'm not going to recommend that. But we will do several different builds with the different variants of the weapons that we showcased here to give you that type of option of how you want to play. And yeah, we'll get into the build. While I say in the background, also we'll do a run on Earl and show you how effective the cryo is whenever the enemy actually takes it, like Earl does. But if he doesn't, it's not as effective as the pounders. All right, let's get in it. All right, let's get right into it. The perk loadout. We're going to have a cryo, and then I'll do a pounders, because there are 2 valid ways to play. You'll see in the background playing, there'll be several different runs. The first 2 are going to be cryo. You're going to see how effective cryo is. Now, if it could do what it does to Earl, or it does to Scorch Beast Queen and the Titan that way, if we could do that to the infested bosses, or even the head-on bosses, it would freeze them. Oh, it would be OP, hands down better than pounders, and I would take it against Earl any day over the pounders, because it's just more effective. It slows Earl down and locks him in. So it is a fun way to play with the Autoax. And but because it doesn't do that to the infested boss, it falls a little bit behind the pounders. So The other runs you'll see, some of them I fast forwarded. I try to squeeze in a reflective to show you that you can tank a reflective. Squeeze in an infested because that's the hardest boss because it drains your AP. And then a couple I fast forward because I took care of the boss so quick, locked them in, and when you sit there and just watch me just chop away for 2-3 minutes. And then there's like one where I actually have to chase the assault turn around and he's hitting me pretty hard, but it shows you how tanky this build is and how effective it is. So with all that being said, let's get right into it. We got a 15 in strength, we got a 7 in perception, 8 in endurance, 3 in charisma, 10 in intelligence, 9 in agility, and a 4 in luck. Now, strength domain will be the same. Brick wall, obviously, so you don't get staggered, very OP. Bone Shrouder with Twisted Muscle, allowing us to cripple our targets, which allows us to be able to activate Slugger, get an extra 30%. Incisor for armor penetration, it's a no-brainer. Gotta have it. Martial Artist, gotta have it now for all your auto-mele builds. Keep you thriving and surviving. It will increase your weapon speed more than 30%, it feels like. Arms Keepers, that way for a little carry weight. Tormentor, we are crippling, is extra 20% per limb, so that's going to come in to handy. Deal Sealer, we're getting an extra 20% because you get crippling damage, and we got cryo damage. If you go Strangle a Heart, you can add it, it'll be another 30, but I would like to say, because if you can see how hard sometimes it hits, I do recommend Hellcat. Number Cruncher, get an extra 18 on our damage for that 9 AP that it costs on our weapon. Life Giver, giving us more life, which makes us more tanky, gives us more health, makes us have more glow, more HP. Endurance, through Hiker, because you can see we didn't have no travel from pharmacy because as a feral ghoul, you don't need no chems, you just need some stim packs, and about 50 of them you can manage and just add when you need some more. Don't waste your points in strength. And through Hiker, because if you can manage your food, now I do encourage you to use food this build. That's why I went through and showed you how to get those tasty dishes so easily. That's called Wellington, because it does bring your gameplay over the top. But if you can manage how much you have on you, then put these points in Ironclad. But I do recommend not wasting through Hikers on your armor. I do recommend having Sentinels because of how the newer bosses are hitting so much harder and you want that damage reduction. Solar Power, because it gives us a +3 strength, it's extra 30 to our damage, and gives us 3 endurance, and it also works at night too. Hardy could take 45% less explosion damage. Glowing Guts, we get our glow back really quick with our Toxic Goo. Stranger Numbers is a no-brainer. I mean, you get free extra damage, free extra AP just from being mutated and being on a team. Tenderizer for those boss fights. Now, Intelligence is so crowded because we have the cryo damage on here. So the first I'll go through will be your Armor Mutants with weapon speed, with 3 strength, with the cryo damage, with the electrify, because the electrify slightly outperformed the turbo, not by much, half a second, 0.7 seconds. So we'll do that, and then we'll swap it up a little bit in here, just give you a variety to see how you want to play. So batteries included for the carry weight of our cores. Good with Solid is going to be moved whenever we're doing an infested or something hard content where we need to protect our armor, and put it back in a White Knight. That way you have White Knight maxed out and the armor breaks 60% slower. You definitely want this, because if you don't, there's things, if you don't get the boss locked in, you start taking a lot of hits, it'll break your armor really quick. Before you know it, you'll be in a bind because you'll have a couple armor pieces missing, a couple of your damage resistance reduction missing, and you'll be overweight and you'll be taking a pounding. So definitely want this maxed out for your armor not to break in the middle of the fight. Science Monster, you get extra 15% for 10 seconds after being hit. Cryologist, we got cryo damage. Got Science because we're going to Electromod on there, get the best performance. Makeshift Warrior because the weapon breaks 80% slower, and when you couple that with Luck of the Draw, you won't have to hardly ever repair your weapon unless it's about a quarter. Then I would repair it. I wouldn't try to wait for it to trigger. I would go ahead and repair it before you go into a fight, because that could be not triggered and it could break that way. But as long as you got like around half, a little bit, something around there, it's never going to break on you. Now, if you say, Red, I saw that Turbo did pretty good, I can do it without the Electro mod, so I want to free up those points. And so that way I don't have to swap anything around. So we take the signs off, and we can put White Knight on there and just run White Knight, and then you don't have to worry about swapping anything when you'll be running around just like you'll be playing all the time. Maybe throw on Field Surgeon if you need some help with just 10 packs kicking in quicker if you're solo. But then just say you saw a weapon break slower, did pretty good, and you can live at that 1 second. It ain't that big of a deal. Then you got weapon break slower at 50%. You just need to add 1 rank of makeshift warrior at 40%. That brings you up over like between 80 and 90%. Your weapon break slower, and that's enough to work with luck of the draw, just like makeshift warrior maxed out. And then we'll put science back on, and you can have your electro mod. So different ways right there you can mix match. It's your wasteland, and you play how you want to. And there's some suggestions there. Agility, I got Action Boy for AP regen, Gunslinger, and Guerrilla Expert. For when you want to use range, like for me when I want to farm the Guardian, I need to get. I will also take off Action Boy and put on Guerrilla Master. That way I get all my stacks with my ranged weapon. Born Survivor to kick in those stim packs. You'll need all the help if that boss gets loose, especially if you're solo. So this will help you thrive and survive. Adrenaline for max damage and stack up. With Dodgy for tankiness. Ricochet for tankiness. Reflect some of that damage back. With Luck of the Draw, it's working with our Break Slower or with our Makeshift Warrior. Class Freak, because you're going to have to take away some of the negative side effects of the mutations that affect your strength. It takes away 75% and makes your DPS still really good with Class Freak with 75%. If you don't have the serums to cancel them out to get max damage. Faulty Spot for that weak point damage. Make sure you don't use stabilized tools. Use Makeshift Warrior. You get more out of it. Stabilized tools is only, it says auto tools, but the maxed out version was only like 40%, or, let's do that real fast. Oh, shit. Yeah, 40%. So in melee tool, it's the same. You can use the Makeshift Warrior. Take 1 for the team. Last multiplicative bonus that we have for damage, and by 40% for just being on a team. 4 special cards maxed out, and plus 5 legendary strength on our 15 strength to give us a max. Overall strength at 20. So I hope that makes sense. That's how we run it. Running with cryo. Like I said, stabilized tools is not as good as Makeshift Warrior. Melee weapons, it still covers your Autoax. Alright, let me come back and show you what I do with the pounders. Alright, real quick with the pounders, everything will be the same besides perception. We got 5, and take those 2 points, move into luck, and we got 6. Our strength remains the same. Perception, we take Deal Solar off. Endurance is the same. Charisma is the same. Intelligence, because you don't have the cryo damage, the extra 2 points you're having to account for, you're able to run with everything like a Furious, Weapon Speed, 3 strength, pounders with electrified mod. So you got your signs are good with all your barriers included. You got your White Knight for your armor, your signs, and your Makeshift Warrior to work with your luck of the draw. So you don't have to swap anything out. You got enough room to run all your cards and not have to swap anything. That's the advantage. Another advantage of running with the pounders or with the cryo. Agility is the same. Luck, we have 2 points we invest in battle genes. Not necessary luxury, but it kind of does help if you got the boss locked down. You're just chopping away at him. You'll be regenerating health, and if something happens, it gets loose or something. That little extra health, could give you enough time to hit a stim pack. So definitely a luxury to have. Now let's say all the legendaries are the same. Let's say you like taking serums, you want max damage, and you have the serums to take and the resources to burn, then take off Class Freak. Move those 3 points off of luck, put it over in charisma, and then put on Party Boy, because that Party Boy will give you 6 to your strength with a whiskey, because it's 3 times the effect of the alcohol. So you'll have that, plus you'll have the total cancel out all the negative effects of strength of your mutation, so you'll have max damage that way. Not necessary, but that's what I would do if I wanted to use serums and burn through some resources. And if I wanted to use my range, like in events, or I would change and put on Concentrate Fire maxed out, and I put like Eye the Hunter add 2, and then if I had 7 in there, like with the cryo, I would put awareness on there. And even without awareness, you'll still be getting pretty good bat accuracy with these two, in my opinion, in my experience. Now over in the mutations, real quick. We had adrenaline for stacked up damage, 6.25 damage per kill. I would recommend that. Bird bones, you don't want to play without it. It does affect your strength, so you got to either have class freak, to cancel it, or have a serm to cancel it. But you don't want to fall like a ton of bricks. Carnivore, you got to have that when you're playing melee, and that's where all the damage buffs is meat related. So chameleon because it adds to your mutant effect on your armor, and you don't have no negative side effect on it. Eagle eyes, if you want to use any type of bats, while even though you're feral, you still want to be able to use bats occasionally. Then you really want to have eagle eyes. If not, then you go without it. But it does cost to your strength, so you need to cancel it out or use class freak. Egghead, if you still need XP, you'll need to have egghead for the experience, for the intelligence. You'll have to cancel that out or use class freak to cancel the side effect. You see, it's costing 3 strength. Electrically charged, 40% chance to do 30% energy damage to melee attackers. This helps those little pesky mole rats and stuff that are bothering you. It'll knock them out, kill most of them. So that definitely comes in handy, and it adds to your mutants effect. Herd mentality, it's extra, it's $3 special, extra strength, extra AP, no brainer, easy to have. Marsupial for carry weight, jumping. Plague Walker, another one that we have, it adds to our mutant effect, and if you have a disease, it just releases a poison herb, it don't hurt you. Skelly Skin for extra damage and energy resist, a little bit of AP cost. Speed Demon for reload, for movement speed. Twisted Muscles is definitely a must-have for the melee damage and extra limb damage. It does affect your gun accuracy, so Class Freak is definitely recommended, or cancel it out. Stable Isotope, very interesting, because that when you do release rads, it could, as a ghoul, it could actually heal you. So, but it also adds to your mutants effect on your armor. And then the buffs, like I said, what I do definitely recommend is running with the Tasty Yahweh Roast or any Tasty Meat Dish to get the 213% melee damage. Definitely recommend that. And I showed you how easy it is to farm that. And here the other buffs I'd recommend, like Squirrel on a Stick to get your agility up high for your AP. Easy with your critter cooker. The Peppermint Collector gives you, it gives you, adds to your endurance. Easy to get. You can come by my camp if you don't have any. Company Tea for help with your AP regen. The Cranberry Meatball Grinder, making you super tanky, 100 to your HP. Easy to get. You saw how much I had. Deathclaw Wellington. You can use your Deathclaw Steak, but you can also farm that and have that. But definitely, out of all these, you definitely need to have the Tasty Dish. That makes it OP. Alright, with all that being said, I hope y'all thriving and surviving out there. You tell me how y'all like to play y'all's Autoax. Do you like playing with cryo, or do you like using the pounders? Did you think cryo was going to be better? What is your favorite way to do infestations? Do you like range? Do you like the up close melee? Or do you like more classic melee? Tell me some of your favorite builds so far, what you've been finding to be effective. I find this build to be effective no matter what the boss is, no matter from solo or not solo. There's never, whether a camo, whether they're reflective, whether they're infested, it doesn't matter. Like, you're able to be able to handle any of them solo, or to be a valuable part of the team by help holding the boss down. So I think it's a fun way to play and be a valuable asset if you're a team play also. With all that being said, y'all let me know, do you think auto-mele is back as being a top weapon in Fallout now since the changes to weapon speed? I know it's behind stealth and probably behind the Gauss minigun, but what do you think? How do you rank it now that with these changes? Do you think it's OP again? Alright, with all that being said, this is Big Red. I hope y'all are thriving and surviving out there. I'll see y'all on the next one.